I'm proud to present the official trailer for Path of Exile Scourge.
O patch note vai sair.
Vamos lá. Hype, hein?
The day the demons found our world, the innocent were first to die.
É um Abyss 2.0?
Lembra muito Abyss mesmo.
They approach your world, your Wraeclast. You must take the fight to them. Embrace the power of chaos. Become more than mortal. Face the nightmare.
Meu Deus, esse tornado.
A Trinova. Porra!
Nossa,
Caralho, que da hora!
Puta que pariu.
Puta que da hora!
They are ravenous. They are endless. They are the Scourge.
Vi coisas interessantes, hein? Vi coisas interessantes.
Vai ser foda, vai ser foda.
Vi coisas interessantes.
The Path of Exile Scourge expansion contains a lot of new content and features that we'll reveal to you today. Let's start with its namesake, the Scourge Challenge League. Upon leaving Lionai's watch, you're startled by a figure appearing out of nowhere, trying to escape from something you can't see. She hands you a rusty-looking device called the Blood Crucible and urges you to implant it into your body. As you play through each area in the Scourge Challenge League, the Blood Crucible fills with the blood spilled by monsters you have slain. Once it reaches a certain threshold, you're able to activate the device. This will instantly thrust you into a parallel reality, an alternate Wraeclast where some form of apocalyptic event is occurring. This Wraeclast is overrun by demons known as the Scourge. They're powerful, dangerous, and come in many forms. The more blood you have collected, the longer you can stay shifted into the parallel Wraeclast. But the longer you stay, the more damage you'll take. When the Crucible's blood runs out or you choose to shift back, you are instantly returned to your original location in our Wraeclast to continue your journey. So why enter an alternate reality to fight a horde of ravenous demons? The answer to that question is exactly what you expect from Path of Exile. You're not there to save the world, you're there to find cool items. You can put an item inside the Blood Crucible. While you are killing the Scourge, it absorbs corruption from the alternate Wraeclast and focuses it onto the item. After enough kills, your item is ready to transform. When it does, it becomes corrupted and gains a pair of Scourged modifiers. One of these is a beneficial mod and one is a detrimental mod.
Próprios, né?
These Scourged mods are in addition to the regular explicit and implicit mods or enchantments on the item. There are many powerful beneficial mods available that can really improve your item. The detrimental mods can significantly raise the requirements of the item, penalize your character's stats such as resistances, or outright turn off various mechanics like the ability to deal fire damage or gain charges. The goal of the transformation process is to get a beneficial mod that makes your item a lot more powerful, while also rolling a detrimental mod that doesn't hurt your build much or at all. But if you get a combination you're unhappy with, then your item is not ruined. By putting it back in the Blood Crucible and killing even more monsters in the alternate Wraeclast, you can transform it a second time, potentially getting a better pair of mods that overwrite the first. Equipment can be transformed up to 3 times, and each time it guarantees a minimum tier of beneficial and detrimental mods equal to the number of times it has been transformed. By the 3rd tier, you can start to get some very powerful effects. The Blood Crucible works on already corrupted items, so it's possible to add Scourged mods to items that you thought couldn't be improved any further.
Caraca, velho.
Talking about corrupted items, you're going to need a way to modify their sockets. While in the alternate ray class, you can find tainted chromatic orbs, tainted
Olha lá o
jeweler's
spoiler
orbs, and
do
tainted
teaser.
orbs of fusing, which work exactly the same as their regular counterparts, but can only be used on corrupted items.
Olha lá, itens específicos pra
Tainted
itens
orbs provide a
corrompidos, hein?
significantly easier and cheaper way of modifying the sockets on your corrupted items than the crafting bench does. While it's obvious that Scourged items can be among Path of Exile's most powerful endgame equipment, it's worth considering the huge impact that good Scourge modifiers can have on your run through the campaign. In our testing, we often manage to Scourge items that are far more powerful than leveling uniques. As you slay the Scourge and other monsters while shifted, the Blood Crucible gains experience and can level up. You can allocate its skill points in its own passive skill screen, which allows it to specialize in many aspects such as unlocking additional item slots, faster item transformation, better transformation outcomes, the ability to transform unique items, and so on. It's possible to eventually allocate every single one of the Blood Crucible skills, but it requires a lot of demon slaying. Scourge's endgame is one where you control the level of risk and reward, or as we like to say in the business, it has a lot of player agency. Once you're exploring the Atlas of Worlds, you may gain the ability to place maps in the Blood Crucible alongside your equipment. When a map absorbs enough corruption and transforms, it gains a beneficial and detrimental effect in the same way that a piece of equipment does, but can also gain a modifier that changes the behavior of Scourge League in that map entirely. After all, when you combine two types of alternate realities together, the results are bound to be unpredictable. Maps can be transformed up to 10 times, increasing their risk and reward substantially each time. When a map is transformed a second or subsequent time, there's a chance that the new beneficial or detrimental modifiers stack alongside the existing ones, enhancing their power, or a chance that new modifiers are added.
Cara, eles estão
Be
dando uma
careful not to transform your
sobrevida pro
maps too many
farm.
times, of
Uma
course, as they may
sobrevida,
become
né?
too dangerous to complete.
Sim, pode fazer mapa.
Cansar de fazer mapa.
Path of Exile Scourge introduces 6 new unique items, of which
Novos
3
únicos,
have been
hein?
added to the core
Lá
drop
vem.
wall, and 3
Lá
can be
vem, lá
found in
vem.
specific aspirational content that we'll reveal later in the livestream. Ul Natol's Vow is an amulet that effectively enables you to turn any 6-linked body armor into a 7-link. Support gems you socket into this amulet apply to skills in your body armor. While specific mods on items have allowed players to create 7-link skills in the past, this amulet lets you choose whatever support gem you want, including corrupted or awakened ones.
Nossa.
It's only possible to find this unique item in specific content that we'll reveal later in the livestream. The new Mageblood belt is one of the most powerful unique items to ever exist in Path of Exile. It permanently enables a number of your utility flasks, providing their benefits constantly with no work required on your part. This belt means that regardless of what your build is, you'll sustain your utility flasks during 100% of gameplay, even long boss fights. Mageblood is in the core drop pool and is exceptionally rare. Early next year,
Caraca,
we
que
will
louco.
release a huge overhaul
Meu
of
amor
Path of
pelo
Exile's
Return
Atlas of
acabou,
Worlds
e já não
endgame in the
existia.
3.17 expansion.
Sim.
In the meantime, though, our October Scourge expansion introduces a bunch of changes
quero-
that
eu
speed
tô
up how
curioso,
quickly
vamos
you
ver o
can
que eles
set up
mexeram
and
no
progress
Atlas.
through your Atlas. We're also introducing more types of
Bem, eles já deram um
ultra-challenging
spoiler
endgame
de quais
content for
regiões
top
eles iam
players
tirar,
who
né?
want to put their best characters to the test.
Olha
In
lá,
order
que
to
bonito.
substantially shorten the length of the Atlas grind, we have reduced the number of regions from 8 to 4. This implicitly reduces the number of watchstones required from 32 to 16. We have also reduced the number of maps on the Atlas, so it's now approximately 100 plus the unique maps. We've rebalanced the bonuses for completing content so that by the time your Atlas is fully unlocked, you receive a slightly higher level of benefit than you did before. Because the number of regions has been halved, so have the number of Atlas passive trees.
Aconteceu.
There are now 4 plus the Uncharted realms. We've made each tree slightly larger and removed some less frequently used or duplicated skills. You'll still be awarded the same number of Atlas passive skill points as before. With these changes, each map you play constitutes far more progress than it previously did. About half as much work is now required to
Prevemos
reach
isso na
Path
live
of
dessa
Exile's
semana, hein?
ultimate endgame.
Aconteceu mesmo. Ó,
We've made some other changes to streamline the endgame also. For example, now when you unveil a modifier, all tiers of that modifier are immediately unlocked at the crafting bench. This applies to every veiled modifier, including the very rare ones.
Marking Orb vai ficar mais caro nessa
Many of
liga, hein?
Path of Exile's past leagues have an endgame component that is designed to challenge the best players with the best builds. Over time, more and more of Path of Exile's experienced players have managed to defeat the game's hardest content. Our most difficult endgame content doesn't pose as much of a challenge as it once did. In the Scourge expansion, we have added a set of new aspirational content, uber versions of Breach, Blight, Legion, an extension to Delirium's Simulacrum, and a revamp of Delve. Breach's endgame involves running Breach Stones, which can be placed in the map device to open portals to a Breachlord's domain. For each Breachlord, there are currently 4 tiers of Breach Stones, and you can upgrade between them using blessings. Path of Exile Scourge introduces a new tier, Flawless Breach Stones.
Flawless.
These can't be obtained via blessings, but are instead found in the Maven encounters where you fight the Breachlords in their most challenging forms. These Flawless Breach Stones require a substantially more powerful character to complete,
vai virar
but have
farm
rewards appropriate for
agora.
their difficulty. Existing Breach Stones now have 2 random modifiers, from a pool that doesn't include build disabling ones, such as not being able to leech. And the new Flawless Breach Stones have 4 of these modifiers, which represents a significant jump in difficulty. They can drop special versions of the Grasping Male body armor, which has a specific fractured modifier themed around the Breachlord of that domain. The Ulnatol's Vow unique amulet we revealed earlier can only be obtained through Flawless Breach Stones. All Breach Stones have been modified so that the items you earn from monsters are now dropped in the spiral at your feet when you complete or fail the event. In addition, rare monsters and Breach domains drop an additional random reward type, such as Scarabs, Maps, or Divination cards, with Flawless Breach Stones adding 2 additional
lá vai.
reward types.
Se preparem
All
pra
Breach
gastar
Stones
bons
are far more
exalteds pra
rewarding
comprar
than
essas
before.
Bridgestone aí.
Blighted maps were previously our pinnacle Blight
Gostei do
content,
loot
but be
agora no
anointed
final.
up to 3
Loot
times
é
to
bom.
increase their difficulty and rewards. In the Scourge expansion, while you're playing Blighted maps, you may find a Blight Ravaged map. These have increased monster difficulty and are always monster level 85. They can be anointed up to 9 times with up to 3 of any one type of anointment. These incredibly challenging encounters can also yield one of
9.
Scourge's powerful new unique items. In Legion, you can combine up to 5 timeless emblems to enter the domain
Os
of
novos
timeless
emblemas
conflict.
lá.
While playing the domain in this expansion, you can find unrelenting emblems, which can be mixed and matched with timeless emblems for a substantially more challenging and rewarding encounter. Delirium's Simulacrum encounter has been extended, with 10 additional waves of combat. As you can expect, these extremely difficult extra waves are very rewarding and feature escalating
Simulacrum vai ter
chances
10
for
novas
Delirium
ondas, é
boss
isso mesmo que eu
spawn.
vi?
With
Isso,
each
10
wave you
novas
play,
waves.
the Simulacrum now has increasing chances of dropping Cluster Jewels and past Wave 20 Delirium unique items. Previously, you could only get a maximum of 1 Delirium unique item per Simulacrum, but now you can walk out with multiple high-value items such as Voices. Simulacrums not only represent a lot more value now, but
Cada
also an
nova wave dá
opportunity to
chance de
truly
nova-
test your
nova
character
kill.
against some of Path of Exile's hardest content. In addition, Delirium orbs are now a lot more common, and Delirium's rewards have been improved due to less popular ones like Prophecy and Talisman being removed entirely. We've made quite a few changes to
Removeram
Delve in the
o
Scourge
carisma
expansion.
dos rewards.
The first
Perfeito.
change is that we have completely rebalanced the entire thing so it's just more rewarding and more challenging at earlier depths. In general, monsters scale to have more life but less damage than before. We've improved monster skills and bio modifiers to make deeper depths more challenging to go with their better rewards. Due to these changes, we've wiped the standard Delve ladders but have retained your previous depth on your characters. To get back on the ladder, just play at whatever depth you were still able to complete. We've also improved the Delve catch-up mechanic. Previously, if you entered Delve for the first time at level 90, you'd be taken to a depth that is the equivalent of Tier 1 maps. Now we'll be taken to the equivalent of Tier 13 maps. This means that if you want, you can essentially ignore Delve until the late game rather than having to play as you go. We've increased the base Soulfight cap from 600 to 1200.
Melhor
Underground
mudança aí.
cities are now more common and you'll encounter bosses more often, including all.
É, foi parte do revamp que
You
eles
can rarely
anunciaram,
find
né, da
fractured
Delve.
items with Delve modifiers on them. We've also increased Fossil and Resonator availability throughout the Azurite Mine. Fossil availability outside of Delve has been reduced. All Resonators drops are now Chaotic Resonators, with Alchemical Resonators not dropping anymore. We've also improved the least powerful fossils.
Tá, mexeram no drop
It has been a
também.
long time since we've done a big rework of Path of Exile's iconic passive skill tree. The
Passive
Scourge
skill,
expansion
outro
includes
tema,
quite a lot of changes, and before I list them,
tema
I want to
importante.
emphasize that our goal here has been to keep the tree as similar to before as possible. All of your years of muscle memory will not be wasted. The tree will still feel like the back of your hand, despite our changes. While planning this rework, we examined every aspect of the passive skill tree. We reviewed and improved each of the tree's class start areas, we added new clusters of skills, improved existing ones, and concentrated power more directly on each skill's primary function. The process of
You
doing
work
this
na
identified that
puta
many
que
passive
pariu.
skills had niche stats that
Nossa,
didn't matter to most characters
coitado
or
do
distracted away
Path
from the
of
purpose
Building,
of what the
velho.
game
Os
was trying
caras
to
vão
do.
ter que fazer
When we
tudo de
took
novo.
niche stats away from a skill, we buffed the primary function of the skill so that it was more concentrated on one purpose. While I'm sure that powerful passive skills sound great to you, you're probably wondering what happened to all of those niche stats. You see, while we were doing this revamp, we realized that specific build-enabling niche stats
No
appearing in
começo a Tri me
specific
assustava,
locations on
mas
the
agora eu
tree
acho ela tão
actually
bonita, velho.
constrained players' passive builds in quite severe ways. Players who wanted to get several specific niche stats often had little flexibility with the rest of their tree because they had to plan around getting to the specific clusters that had those niche stats in them. We decided we wanted to solve both problems at once here, to move niche stats off the main tree, but also to provide a way to get them, preferably from many different locations all over the passive skill tree. And that's how we came up with a passive masteries system. Outside of the class start locations, all passive skill clusters that have a notable
da
passive
hora,
in them
velho.
now contain a passive mastery. When you allocate the first notable passive in each cluster,
Olha.
a mastery becomes available to allocate in that cluster. When you spend a passive skill point on the mastery,
Que
you can
da
choose
hora.
a specific stat to gain. This list is shared with all the clusters on the tree that have the same theme, so you can travel to any of them to get the stat you want.
Caralho, que
As you
apelão,
go, the
velho.
mastery stat is crossed
Puta
off the
que
Que
list.
pariu, meu irmão. Aí sim, hein?
This mastery system has essentially let us add hundreds of powerful new notable passives that you can access from all over the tree. In addition to the stats that we moved into masteries when consolidating power on
jogo
the rest of the
completamente
tree,
novo.
we got to come up with a bunch of new interesting niche stuff to
Ah,
enable
meu,
even more
porra,
builds.
puta, muita possibilidade agora.
We've also rebalanced a few keystone passives, changed the locations
As
of some, and added
keystones
6
lá.
new keystones to the tree.
Ah, o Ghost Dance ali, ó. Versátil Combatant também, que eles tiraram do Gladiador, né?
Overall, Path of Exile's passive skill tree is now a lot more powerful, with concentrated power coming from core passives, and a selection of build-enabling niche stats available on masteries for you to pick between.
Ah, puta, além de tudo você consegue escolher tá de
Path of
dentro.
Exile
Que da hora,
Scourge
velho.
introduces a whole
Puta,
variety
melhor
of
de
new skill
todas
gems
que eu
with
vi
many
até agora.
different purposes. 2 of them are new concepts unlike anything we have done before.
Nossa, não,
These ones are
meu
designed to
Deus,
immediately
velho.
create entirely new builds that have a lot of potential. There's also a utility skill that will help characters
Os caras
stay
esfregando
alive,
na cara da
a variation on an
comunidade, ó.
existing skill gem, and 6 new
É
gems
coisa nova
designed
que
for
vocês
party
queriam.
play. Let's go through the new skills.
Vamos ver quais são as skills.
Energy Blade is a new skill that transforms your melee weapons into, well, energy blades. A large portion of your energy shield is converted into the lightning damage that these blades deal. This opens up an entirely new melee energy shield archetype, where you want to stack as much energy shield as possible to get the most powerful blades you can. Conveniently, the defenses rework in this expansion is very compatible with this
Essa
plan.
Energy Blade, puta que pariu, muito linda.
Temporal Rift is a new utility skill that allows you to rewind your character's state by 4 seconds.
Spell.
After activating the skill, it starts storing your position, life, mana,
Caraca,
and
que da hora,
energy shield
velho.
values
É
every
tipo
quarter second.
miner de
When you
spell.
use the skill again, you are rewound back to 4 seconds ago. The build shown here uses the Forbidden Rite skill introduced in the last expansion. This skill does a lot of damage, but also hurts the caster when used. Temporal Rift allows this player to snapshot their full life orb, cast Forbidden Rite a lot, and then revert back to full life to keep casting. Not only is Temporal Rift incredibly useful in hardcore mode for obvious reasons, or while exploring maps efficiently, but it also enables some interesting tricks with mana. Come to think of it, it'll be pretty cool in Delve as well if you don't mess up the timing. Temporal Rift also prevents temporal chains from affecting you while it is in use. Tornado is another new skill. As the name suggests, it creates a tornado that relentlessly moves towards enemies and pulses with damage.
Ah, essa demorou
While
de
the
vir
tornado
já,
is
hein?
forming, you have a couple of seconds where it will absorb damage from projectiles you hit it with. Fire as many projectiles as you can into it during that period, and
Olha aí,
it'll
ó,
power
dano
up,
elemental
greatly increasing its
degenerativo aí,
damage
ó.
output.
No Tornadão de Fogo.
Nossa,
In
esse
the
tornado tá
Expedition
lindo
expansion,
demais.
we introduced a skill called Explosive Concoction. Based on player feedback, we're improving the skill so that its projectiles are thrown faster, have a higher base crit chance, and have greater speed.
Pô, bastante skill de
Now that we feel
projétil,
that
hein?
Explosive Concoction is sufficiently powerful, we're introducing a similar new skill called Poisonous Concoction. As the name implies, this one deals poison damage rather than fire damage, and consumes charges from your life flasks rather than your elemental flasks. Poisonous Concoction scales its damage based on how much life the consumed flasks recover, which encourages you to craft your flasks to take advantage of this.
É, tipo um coquetel molotov de poison.
It's quite rare for us to introduce skills that only
Nossa,
work for
isso é
party
da hora
play,
também.
but in the Scourge expansion, we've created a set of 6 that function in similar ways but do different things. These link skills create a bond between you and a specific
6
party member,
skills novas.
providing a big benefit to them while they stay within range, but with the very important drawback that if they die, so do you. Soul Link protects your target by causing a percentage of damage they are dealt to be applied to your energy shield instead. If you have built a tanky character with a lot of energy shield, then you and your target will be protected
Olha lá, os
by
caras
it.
tiraram o Aura Bot, mas
Protective
tem
Link grants your target
os
a
links
chance to block
agora.
attacks that is equal to yours, and also grants some life gain on block to them. By
os
default,
caras
the
são
obvious
foda,
use
né?
of this link skill is to allow you to specialize in block, and then use it to protect an ally that is specialized in something else, like damage. But there are some cool tricks you might discover. For example, the Glancing Blows keystone passive doubles your block chance, but changes that so that you still take some damage from blocked attacks. In conjunction with Protective Link, though, your target will receive your doubled block chance, but won't receive the drawback. Intuitive Link is socketed alongside a spell on your character, and that spell is triggered from your target's location when they hit an enemy. This could be useful, for example, if you have a party member who's cycloning through enemies, and you can trigger your
Party play
spells
tá
from
muito mais
within those
bonito,
packs of
muito mais
enemies without
gostoso.
having
Agora eu
to
quero
get
jogar
close
em
yourself.
PT.
É, agora eles estão incluindo uma
There are three
mecânica
other
muito
link
mais
skills that
interessante
we
pra
will
jogar de
reveal
PT.
closer to release.
Muito
As this
mais
expansion does
interessante.
include significant nerfs to Aurabot characters who stack auras
Mais
for the
do
benefit
que
of their party
Aurabot
members.
até, eu acho,
These link
viu?
skills give them a viable, more active playstyle. Link skills cannot normally be used with your minions, but we're adding a minion mastery to the passive skill tree that allows you to use link skills with them.
Olha, Link
However, this
Skills
is
can
a
target
high ongoing
minions,
mana cost that is difficult
caraca,
to stay on top
velho.
of.
Nossa.
In Path of Exile Scourge, we've done a lot of balance work improving flasks,
Olha os
element
minions aí,
mitigation, general
gente.
character defenses, and elemental damage over time. We've made some changes to how stacking auras and curses works, and have buffed most awakened support gems. We've posted about the changes we intend in the last couple of weeks, and have been iterating on these changes based on testing and your feedback. We are posting the full Scourge patch notes after the Q&A portion of this livestream, so we'd encourage you to check out the full details of the balance changes there.
É, vai sair o patch notes no final do QA, é isso, né?
We first introduced
Isso.
guilds alongside Path of
vai
Exile's
sair hoje
initial
então,
release
gente.
in October 2013. Our guild leaders and members have been patient for a very long time, and after 8 years, we're rewarding that patience with a wave of guild quality of life features. As a game about items, the functional heart of a Path of Exile guild is its stash. You can finally control-click items into and out of your guild stash and access other features such as the drop-down list of stashes, drag-and-drop stash ordering,
que
affinities,
delícia.
etc. We have also introduced guild versions of all of the types of premium stash tabs,
Ah,
so
tá,
guilds
beleza.
can finally enjoy popular tabs such as currency or map tabs. While shared guild tabs are a little more expensive than individual tabs because of their server costs and development overhead, we have bundled all of the exotic ones
Colocaram
together in a
qualidade de
single
vida nas
discounted
stats de
bundle
guild
for guilds
também, né?
that want to
Basicamente
invest
foi
in the
isso.
whole lot at once. We have also added the ability to export a CSV file of your guild stash activity log for convenient auditing. We wanted to pair functional with fun, so we have introduced guild hideouts. Guild leaders can select any in-game or microtransaction hideout that they have unlocked and create a guild hideout based on that template. These hideouts are a great place to hold guild meetings or to just have as a space for members to meet up between maps. If you're hanging out in your guild's hideout, you can use its map device as though it was your own. We understand that not everyone is in a guild, so there's one hideout-related feature that we wanted to mention. We have entirely removed the favor system from Path of Exile. From this expansion onwards, all hideout decorations that could previously be obtained with favor are now available to all players in unlimited quantities,
Caraca, hideout
both
bonito,
personal
velho.
and guild hideouts. Now, there's nothing stopping you from making the hideout of your dreams.
Tem o hideout da
We've
guilda
also
agora.
added a system that allows you to filter decorations by tag because there are just so many available to you by default now. Alongside Path of Exile Scourge, we're introducing the Expedition content from our last expansion into Path of Exile's core game, with a few adjustments. Expedition artifacts are no longer tradable items, which has two key effects. The first is that they are automatically
colocaram Expedition
collected
no
as you
core do
complete
game.
expeditions, and the second is that all characters can now engage with
legal.
the Calgaro merchants
Mecaniquinha
without
legal
having to
mesmo.
feel that their best plan is to trade the currency away to other players who may
Bem,
use
eu
it more
gostei, pelo
efficiently
menos.
than them. It's a difficult decision working out whether to make specific items tradable or not, but we feel that on balance, this new approach will solve several problems with the system. It's also worth noting that the currency items that allow you to re-roll the vendor's inventories are still tradable. You'll start finding expeditions from Act 6 onwards. There's an 8% chance for a map to contain an expedition, and they can be further augmented through investment in the appropriate Atlas passive skill tree. As we move new leagues to core, we will replace outdated obsolete content. In this case, Expedition replaces Perandus. Details are in the patch notes.
Tchau, Perandos. Porra, eu odiava o Perandos, velho. Nunca me deu nada que presta.
While clicking
com
on
Deus,
items
esperando.
is a critical part of playing an action RPG, there's a fine line before it becomes a chore, and we're trying hard to make sure that clicks on
Ah, e
items
tem
come
drop
with appropriate
stacking. Vamos ver
reward.
se resolver esse
Expedition
problema.
artifacts being automatically picked up isn't the only improvement we're making to reduce unnecessary clicks in this expansion. In order to make sure that each stack of currency items is worth a click, we're trying out a system where currency items drop less frequently, but in larger stack sizes. For example, Scrolls of Wisdom in the late game might drop 1/10 of the time, but when they do, it'll be in stacks of 6 to 14. This means that the click that you will make will gain you a much more meaningful amount of currency at once. We have applied this to many different types of currency items, and the effect of the system gets larger as you get further into the game. In addition, we've had a look at instances where item drops happen simultaneously, and we've made it so that items that can drop in stacks will automatically do so. This includes at the end of delves, incursions, rituals, blight encounters, breachstones, and the simulacrum. We have also applied this approach to many chests and areas like splinter drops throughout Path of Exile. Before we move on to our final
Vamos ver
announcement
os
and live
MTX
Q&A,
da
let's have a
Scourge.
quick look at the new set of supporter
Eu já vou
packs that
comprar.
are available right now to celebrate the launch of Path of Exile Scourge and help fund ongoing development of Path of Exile.
Já pega
Based on
aquela...
player feedback,
Deixa eu
we've
pegar meu
increased
cartão
the value of
aqui.
$30 and $60
Olha,
supporter
like
packs by
Senhor dos
adding $5
Anéis?
worth of points to each
Caraca, isso é
one.
bonito, hein?
This means that you now
Lindo.
receive the full value of what you spend in points, with the new sets of exclusive
Não,
cosmetic
esse eu não curti tanto
microtransactions
não,
on
prefiro
top.
outro.
O
These
branco,
include
é, o
armor
branco.
sets, weapon skins, portals,
Olha, esse branco é
shields, and helmet
bonito, hein?
attachments.
Puta que
The
parola, velho.
Ancient Dread Pack contains an exclusive pair of wings, and the
Nossa.
Intrepid Liege Pack contains an
Olha
exclusive
aí,
pair.
se eu tivesse essa asa com o meu
These new
Lance
packs
Steel,
each
hein?
have
Ia
3 value
combinar.
tiers that you can upgrade between within their respective series. Thank
Meu
you
Deus,
so
esse
much for your
servo.
support. Purchases
Puta
of these
que
support
pariu.
packs make expansions like Scourge possible.
Que da hora, velho.
Olha esse portal, ah
Shortly we'll
não.
begin our Q&A and we'll
Nossa,
answer
que
some
lindo!
questions. But first, we have another quick
Lá se
announcement.
vai, parte do
In the
13º.
Expedition League, we teamed up with Twitch Rivals to run our first ever Path of Exile Royale live tournament. This
Ah,
event saw
Royale,
our favorite content creators teaming up in pairs to compete for awesome prizes. We're excited to announce that following the launch of Path of Exile Scourge, we're doing it again. This time around, competitors will compete alone, but we've added a unique twist. Towards the end of the match, surviving players may encounter a brutal but rewarding boss fight, which could have significant strategic implications for how they play the match. There's $30,000 of cash on the line alongside some of Path of Exile's best microtransactions. Tune in on October 28th at twitch.tv/twitchrivals to see who will decimate their competition. That concludes the reveal portion of this live stream.
É isso,
Keep an eye on
porra.
the news next week as we
O
reveal
hype-
more details
O hype
about the
aumentou
Scourge
consideravelmente,
expansion. In
hein?
the meantime,
Eu
these
estou
reveals are already live on YouTube for you to
sem
link to your friends in
condições.
case they missed the live
100%
stream. Please
hypado
do
ou
so,
não?
and join us as we battle the
300%
Scourge
hypado.
alongside you next week.
Eu tinha expectativas
It's now
pra
time for the
essa última, mas
Q&A.
elas
If
foram
you have any
incrivelmente
questions about what we've
superadas.
shown you today, please get them ready.
Muito
because I'm
bom,
about to be
muito
joined
bom.
by Ziggy D as we answer your questions from Twitch chat, and after that, we'll be
Ah,
posting
gente,
the
vamos
full
combinar,
Path of
vai.
Exile Scourge patch notes.
Deu uma
Nossa.
hypadinha. Pelo menos uma hypadinha deu. Vai começar. Rapaz do céu, ó. Antes de começar o QA aqui, Luan. Pra mim, destaque total pra Tri, velho. Total pra Tri.
100%. Eu volto em 2 instantes, eu preciso resolver
Vai.
um negócio rapidinho aqui.
Vai lá,
Tá
vai
bom.
lá, vai lá, vai lá. Meu destaque é Tri, gente. Tri, assim, 100%. Nossa, velho. Vai dar muita possibilidade. A Thread of Hope vai ter que ser remodelada. Enfim. Vamos ver, né? Na verdade, vai mudar o raio, né? Daquelas skills que você consegue linkar, né? Sem estar propriamente com os links adjacentes, né? Tipo Thread of Hope, por exemplo. Ah, gente, vamos ver o que vem por aí, vamos ver o que vem por aí. Hip Path of Build. Eu que não queria ser o dev do Path of Build nessas horas, velho. Eu não queria. Coitado dos caras, velho. Olha, vocês esperam, viu? Porque olha, se os caras conseguirem remodelar o POB em uma semana... Meu Deus, amigo. Bem, amigos. Quero ver. Quero ver. Pra você que tá me assistindo, seja muito bem-vindo, muito bem-vindo. Hoje, dia 14 de outubro, dia de conhecermos a Liga 3.16 Scourge. Digam aí o que vocês estão achando, gente. Digam aí. Se você não deixou o seu follow ainda, puder contar com a ajuda do seu follow, agradeço demais. Canal em começo de vida, todo follow ajuda muito. Chegando a 600 follows, se chegarmos aos 600 hoje, ainda tem sorteio de sub, hein? Sorteio de sub pra galera, pra prestigiar nossa audiência qualificadíssima. Lives aí de segunda a quinta-feira a partir das 9 da noite até o começo da madruga boladona. E de sexta, sábado e domingo é que nem o plantão da Globo. Apareço quando vocês menos esperarem. Vamos lá, tamo no aguardo aí do Ziggy com o meu amigo Carication. Pra quem não sabe, eu sou Carication também. Meu amigo Carication, Chris Wilson.
Hot Topics. Achei a Tri incrível. Nos podcasts sempre foram falados que tudo que a GG faz em cima da Tri é coisa positiva, eles nunca erram na Tri. E eu acho que eles abraçaram isso e foram com tudo pra cima da Tri, e eu acho isso incrível. Amei as novas skills. Eu acho que aquela de Energy Shield com Blade vai ser maravilhosa. Eu estou fascinado. Tudo que eles entregaram pra mim aqui foi perfeito. E eu preciso comprar o Supporter Pack, porque aquele Supporter Pack branco é maravilhoso. Eu tô extasiado. Foi incrível esse anúncio. Nossa senhora. Só coisa boa. Não tem nada pra falar mal. Só coisa maravilhosa. Maravilhosa, maravilhosa.
Eu acho que eu vou... Com certeza, eu acho que eu vou comprar esse pack também.
O site Path caiu.
Nossa, cara. Não, ó. Caraca, caiu? Derrubaram? Muito acesso, provavelmente. Muito acesso. Mano, não sei. Eu acho que vai dar muita possibilidade. Eu tô realmente pirado naquela possibilidade da Tri lá. Naquelas possibilidades de você... Porque realmente, se você for parar pra pensar, né?
Eu sempre falo que eu sou cadelinha da GGG, né? No jogo. Eu tenho uma tatuagem de Path Exile. Eu acho que eu nunca falei isso na parte. Eu tenho meio tatuado no meu braço. Porque eu sou apaixonado no jogo.
Que da hora.
Volta, vamos lá.
Vamos lá, voltar.